Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Expansion Pack podcast where we download this week's gaming news and we bring it straight to you. This is episode 76, and to be quite honest, there really isn't that much gaming news this week, and that's
It's a
kind of
little
the
dry.
it's kind of the main point of this episode.
I
Everything's
guess you can say there's a fallout.
oh no. Oh
A 70
no.
Oh wow,
Oh
that was
no.
cringe.
Thank you guys. Come
Pure
again.
cringe.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Pure cringe, bro.
Oh man. But yeah, we're here to talk about some games, some things. I'm your host, Black Ice, joined by my co-host to my right here. If you guys are watching on the YouTube, we got Goopmaster Flex. What's going on, bro?
No, stay gooping.
Stay gooping as always. And then we got my man down low, Mr. 525 himself, May 25th. People, what's up?
What's going on, y'all? Hopefully everybody's having a good 4th of July. And y'all is out there May 25th in it up, even though it's the 4th of July. And yeah.
Okay.
I know that was confusing. I know.
It's a
But
lifestyle.
if you slow it down, you can keep up with your boy. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I don't even know how to dissect that one, but I will pivot over to give my boy a shout out down here. If y'all are listening on the Spotify and all the audio podcast stuff, you probably noticed he sounds a little different. My guy stepped it up, got himself into the Elgato Wave family. So we got to shout him out there.
I did.
Also, if you guys are watching, you notice we're all wearing the same headsets. So this episode has been brought to you by the SteelSeries. No, just kidding. We all got new
I'll say
headsets.
they're not paying us.
No, they paying us, but I gotta say, shout out to them because we all got the new Nova Pro wireless headsets, and they're sounding pretty nice. There's a lot of stuff to figure out with them, though. To be quite honest with you,
Clearly, for sure.
Yeah, we were struggling a little bit, to get this episode off the ground because of some technical issues. But once you get them working, they're pretty nice. They sound very good. Although the microphones need a little bit of work though. If you gonna be playing this on an Xbox or a PlayStation, the mic settings are a little, but
PC, they have well optimized settings, but
yeah,
they kind of left y'all in the dust.
facts. Yeah, they need to pump out an update or something for Xbox and PlayStation so that it sounds better. But
Yeah, at least like a little operating center, or whatever.
facts.
I think it's coming. It's coming.
I hope
coming.
so.
I hope so.
Hopefully.
All right, well, Chris, you're all upgraded up. We see you with the new headset. We see you with the new mic. We see you with the new chair. So this is gonna be your time to shine here. We're gonna give you the full screen. Hit us with the icebreaker this week, man. What's up?
I remember back in the day. Shout out Devin, right? Because he thought this was very funny. 5 cents a day. 5 cents a day. I remember that. Ain't no 5 cents no more, compadre. All right. So let's get that out of the way first. All right. Now with the actual icebreaker. Y'all done got me fucked up. Very simple. Actually, it's one of those questions that can kind of like hopefully start a conversation. Do you guys think sports gaming is dying? Do you think it's on its way out? Not necessarily on its way out because I don't think it'll die that hard. But do you guys think it's becoming one of those genres that's not so much of a focal point? Almost kind of like in a couple years, maybe be even, kind of like fighting games almost in a sense. Are we going too far? Are we not going far enough? Like, what do you guys think? And then like also on top of that, y'all remember that conversation we had a couple months back about, what we would want to see in an actual new age sports game in terms of battle passes, in terms of how they structure the game and all that stuff. Depending upon your answer, do you guys even think that that's something that can even still exist? Or is it coming? What do you guys think? What's going on with sports, man? What's going on? Obviously, I'll give you my answer first. I'm going to just go, yup. That's a flat yup. I got to say, I don't see... it hurts me to say this too. I don't see where like they're taking a lot of innovation and really pushing forward with sports gaming in general. Because this could be an easy time for us to tear apart 2K. I'm not trying to do that. I'm looking at it objectively across the board. I don't know. Like, is it just me, or does it just feel like they have yet to take like that next step into like what we would consider maybe like in any way, shape, or form a next gen version of a sports game? I don't think we've gotten that yet. I think right now my hopes are still clinging to what's that game called? The boxing club game. Can't remember the name of it.
I know what you're talking about. It's like esports
I'm really,
boxing. I think.
yeah. I'm praying for that to like really just catapult us forward into some new shit. But aside from that, I've gotten nothing from any of these games at all that has led me to believe, yo, we about to knock y'all in y'all heads with this new version of what we got for sports gaming. Whether it's baseball, whether it's basketball. I haven't touched a Madden game in years, but I barely hear a lot of stuff about that. Like, am I bugging? Am I going too far, y'all? What y'all think?
I'm gonna let Manny start. I have a lot to
It's
say.
tough. It's tough because there's so much potential for the sports games. As we can see, we got Skate coming out. Eventually, EA showed a little trailer with the alpha sign up. I'm excited. Hopefully, I can get in with that. I consider that being a sports game, of course. It just sucks because for both sides, football and basketball, there's not really competition. We know NBA Live died, and Madden holds the rights to the NFL. So, you know, like 2K has a football game coming out, but it's not going to be sports simulation. So it's not going to be like that. It's going to probably be like a street game, if anything. But um, yeah, the problem is there's not really too much competition, and since there's not competition, there's no way to really innovate their games, or there's no motivation to, because they're making their money easily since there's not really competition to kind of fight them. I was thinking about this the other day. I feel like EA, the best way to kind of get back into, the basketball side of things is instead of pumping out, a simulation basketball game like NBA Live, they could, use an old IP, NBA Street, and like make that like their kind of live service game, and still like implement stuff like Ultimate Team and stuff like that to the game. So like for example, like you could obviously make a my player and build your way up, your respective parks. Ultimate Team in the sense where it's like you could collect legends and current players and put them on your Ultimate Team roster, and battle people online, of course, 3v3, 1v1, all that kind of stuff. And then like your simple play now modes, your pickups, but like street mode version. You know what I'm saying? I feel like they have like that kind of IP set up in a way where they can do that. It's like, and I think 2K might do like the same thing with football, since they can't do a simulation. I think they're gonna probably do like more of like a my player street football game, since they can't really do like a football simulation. But like I said, it's the problem is there's no competition out, and they're sitting on a lot of IPs that can be worked on, but they're just lazy taking in the money that they can get right now since it's easy cash.
I don't know
Can
if I
can I
goes.
interject 1 second before you go, Denzel? Just
Go
one
ahead.
second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just want to ask.
Mhm.
Is it fair that we keep giving that excuse though? Because I feel like we give that excuse a lot with a lot of this stuff, with them just not having competition, and then they just give us what they give us.
Is
Is
it
it
I
an
fair
mean,
to keep going that
excuse? I
route?
don't. I don't know if that's an excuse. I think that's a condemnation. That's saying that you're the only game in town, and you kind of maneuvered your way in such a way that you are the only game in town, and you're complacent. Like, I don't think that's an excuse. I think that's like saying there's no competition, and I don't know. I guess the way Manny worded it in my mind isn't that there's no competition because they're like great. It's like there's no competition and they suck. Like I don't know. Like I feel like,
no, I wouldn't say they suck.
well, not
It's
not
just more of
suck, but you know
like
what I mean.
I'll give it this. Visually, I would say 2K looks amazing. Like I remember I was playing like a what is it called, the league, and like just seeing like the players, what they look in graphics and game graphics and everything like that. They look great. You know what I'm saying? And there's of course like what is it called, like the my career story mode. I actually like the things you could do in the city and all that kind of stuff, like the quest. That's pretty innovative. I'll give them that. But I feel like 2K, like since they try to do like their kind of live service way with the seasons, they kind of like ruined the game, and they kind of just like kind of gave up, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion.
I think okay. Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So as far as addressing the original question is, will sports gaming die? Is it dying? No, it'll never die. It's impossible. It won't happen. Like as long as sports matter in the world, which they almost always will, sports gaming will matter. All of us here, we're pretty. I wouldn't necessarily say we are varying levels of hardcore gamers, right? Like we play a bunch of different types of games, so on and so forth. None of us here would be considered casual. Sports gaming is huge for the casual market. Madden makes boatloads of money, hand over fist, every single year. 2K makes boatloads of money, hand over fist, every single year. FIFA, like that's the trifecta of sports gaming. They are making a lot more money than most things. Like I think the only things you could really compare it to is like obviously Call of Duty makes an exorbitant amount of money every year, but like that's the league that we're talking about when we talk about those particular sports games. Now, getting that out of the way, what we're really talking about and what I think you might be alluding to or diving more into is just like the innovation as far as we have online. Like online is a thing. 2K has tried very hard to make my career and do the rec center and all those different types of things. And I feel like in every facet of the game, it fails. Again, isolating 2K as a very specific thing. So we've all started playing. Well, minus Chris, but Manny, myself, a couple other people, we've all started playing. Like we made a league in 2K after the draft. Like people created like these custom rosters. So we took those custom rosters and we made like our own league, right? In playing that league, the more and more I've been playing it, I'm like, this is a perfect game. This is a perfect basketball game if you're just looking at it from the exhibition standpoint. Like the way the players move, like when you're playing against the computer, it's a perfect game. When you get online, like and again, I'm talking about playing against another person now. Things start to break down a little bit, but it's still a really good game. Like, animations clip and sometimes like you feel like you're getting cheesed out a little bit more. So that's something that needs to get fixed. Now, when you get into the My Career, Rec Center, Pro-Am, all that shit, it goes out the fucking window. It's like everything breaks down because maybe like you said, they're trying to do some of the live service stuff where like they're introducing new things to like battle passes to basically incentivize you into coming back and yada, yada, yada. But I feel like playing online against other people has become less and less fun because basketball IQ isn't rewarded. It's literally just dribble, left, right, and then take some fading shot and you green it, whatever, right? Or like, the beginning stage of the game, you couldn't make a pass. And it wasn't even a matter of like you making bad passes. It was just like passing lanes were getting like Superman like dove in front of the ball and like threw it to the other side of the court. And now we just have cherry pickers. There's just like a lot of fundamental things that take away from the game of basketball that was happening in Rec Center, Pro-Am, like that type of stuff. And I think, 2K has took some steps to like address some of those things, but I just never feel like it's truly balanced. And I don't know if it ever can truly be balanced. So when I think about 2K and innovation and all those different types of things, they can innovate all they want. And they've done a lot of innovation. At the end of the day, it's still like, I don't know, it still doesn't create a great experience because the balancing is always off. And balancing is always off because people suck and they'll find like the best way to break the game. And that's really what it boils down to, in my opinion. Like I also play Madden, right? So if I'm playing Ultimate Team, these dudes are always fighting. And there's some problems with Ultimate Team too, right? Like, don't get me wrong. A lot of people don't like Ultimate Team because, it basically ends up being like a pay to win type of situation. That's a different topic for a different time. I'm not even gonna get into that because we'll be here for the whole episode on that one. But when I play Ultimate Team, people always seem to focus on there's like a meta. There's always a meta in these sports games, right? There's like the particular player, like I think in Ultimate Team they made a Derrick Henry quarterback player, and this dude would just run, like he would just take off. It basically was like the second coming of Michael Vick, but he's as big as Derrick Henry, so nobody was tackling him. It broke the game for a time. Everybody was pissed. Everybody was annoyed. You should see the community. It was a whole different ball game. Like I feel like those metas is what kills these sports games from an online perspective. If you're just playing the computer, they're fucking amazing. They're perfect, right? But I don't know that all that innovation shit. Like I feel like they're really trying to do the innovation geared towards online stuff because that's where the money is, and it just it falls flat on its face because it's very hard to keep all that shit balanced. That's me. But to your question about the what did you say? Did you call it like an MMO or what were you referring to
Oh
exactly?
well, I mean, I guess you could say the live service sports game, the game that would replace having to have an annual game out every
Oh
year.
yes,
It's just like
okay.
an update type of.
I feel like it's coming, and I feel like I don't know. Like I have like a more long-winded explanation as to why, but I don't want to take up too much more time about it. But I think it's coming with this new FIFA. That's well, it's not called FIFA anymore, but EA is kind of EA and FIFA. Their relationship is deteriorated, so they're no longer going to be making FIFA in the next year. It's going to be called EA
I
FC or
see.
some football club, something along those lines. And I think the way they talked about it in a press release, it led me to believe that they may experiment with doing like a live service model type of thing where it's just like this is the game and we'll just update it throughout the seasons. And I think that soccer is probably the perfect sport to start that with, to start that experiment and see how that goes. And obviously, if EA gets it right, what's coming to Madden. There's a good chance that they'll try to do it with whatever other sports games that come out, and if that's successful enough, 2K will then follow them. Although I think even if it is successful, it'll take a year or two because 2K tends to kind of go to the beat of their own drum a little bit. They try not to listen to or see what other people are doing in the industry. But I think if it's successful enough, it'll be loud enough, and they'll have no choice but to do it with 2K. But yeah, so out of all of that, no, I don't think sports gaming is dying or will die ever. Yes, I do think the live service model, like the one that we talked about that we really want to happen, will come about at some point in time, but it'll take some time. So, thoughts?
Or
I think is it called Pez? I think it's like called Pez anymore. I think like
Pro
free to
Evolution
play. Like
Soccer? Yeah, they switched it up. It's a free to play thing now.
yeah. So I guess you could kind of say they're first to make it free to play.
But it's not
Yeah.
good. Well,
I
I don't
know
know.
it's not.
It's not like on
It's
the
not.
quality of FIFA.
It's not
but it's not
good.
good.
It's not good. There's a reason why it's free.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, really,
Oh
they had to find a
shit!
way to compete, and that's something that was owned by Konami too. That's one of the last things that Konami's like putting out, really, right?
Yeah, since they're sitting in a bunch of IPs.
Facts. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have way more like thoughts about this whole sports gaming thing because I really think it gets a bad rap, and I also think I don't know. There's certain things that it makes sense are irritating to people. Like I still want to try to play 2K online with like all of our friends, but it's the absolutely frustrating experience
Yeah,
because like basketball IQ in Pro Am and Rec Center is everything. And like you like Manny, you're a big man, right? I mean,
Bro,
I'm a point guard. I'm guilty of it too. Like a lot of times I'll end up missing you in the paint. If I try to get it to you in the paint, like somebody teleports from one end of the court to the other and like steals it from you. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough.
I think what killed me about 2K was I was trying to make this, the defensive like paint beast, like great interior defense, playing like Dwight Howard or Shaq in the paint. You know what I'm saying? Just dunking on people's nuts with like 99 standing dunk, contact Hall of Fame and all that kind of stuff. And like I don't know what it is. Every year 2K hates me, but they make my build look like a POS. Like, bro, my every time like I would be in the paint alone, I got Hall of Fame rise up. My guy wouldn't even do a standing dunk. He would just like, you know what I'm saying, just toss it in the rim. And then like some 6'3", shooting guard would come out of nowhere. LeBron blocked me, and I'm like, bro, what's going? Can't just stuff it in the rim. There'll be somebody under the arc, and I'm like, yo, my guy should be able to contact dunk this, and I can't because 2K just like, what I'm saying, hates me for some reason. So that's why I hate making big man because like, I feel like every time I make a big man that's supposed to be like, a defensive beast, which my guy I'll give him, he's
Yeah, you're
defensively great,
definitely
but
defensive
like
minded.
offensively he's trash because for some reason 2K wants to disrespect them and not be able to like make contact dunks and you know simple stuff that just doesn't happen. But
Partially, I feel like this year in particular, you picked a bad year to like go that route because like they changed up the way posters work now. So like
Mhm.
you have to be like precise when you're using posters, and even still, the posters don't really work if you hold down on the stick. It's like it's I don't know, it's very hit or miss.
Mhm.
I don't know, but I will say this, and it's from an unlikely source, but Manny, you and I we were a part of the Madden 23 beta.
Mhm.
Closed beta. It's over now. Can't get into like too many details about it, but generally speaking, the one of the things that I did like about it was animations didn't feel as pre-canned as they usually feel in Madden, and I feel like also the throwing so this is something they've already talked about, but like the precision throwing, you can like
Mhm.
choose where you're throwing the ball on the field. It's more precise than it's ever been, right? And I feel like the game is less predictable in that way. Like I don't feel like I'm stuck in an animation that like somebody's gonna catch it and like my guy can't move or something like that. I didn't feel that at all in the beta, and even like the situations where I'm a ball carrier, I'm running with the ball and I get tackled. If I get hit one way and somebody hits me another way, all of a sudden I'm back up and I'm moving forward. Like it didn't feel like as predictable every like play to play as it did in the previous Maddens. Now, I will say this: I've played other Madden betas in the past, and the beta itself was great, and then the game comes out, and then people are like complaining about certain things, and so they revert back to the way shit was. So I think really what I'm getting at is people are the problem. People are the reason why these sports games are not where they need to be because people complain about certain shit or they break the game with the meta. So that's I'm gonna just leave it at that. Chris, what do you think? I know you're
Um,
doing one of these, so
I, the only reason why earlier I said an excuse is because I can't lie to y'all, man. Like that's something I feel like I've constantly just been hearing for like at least a decade now on why this sport game or that sports game isn't where it should be. So that's the only reason why I call it this, because I'm like, yo, how many times are we gonna keep on going to that same well and then being like, that's why the game isn't what we want? It's hard for me to kind of give some of these places a pass because the era that we live in right now, like the internet era, and the fact that they can get so much information based on like feedback wise and whatnot about what people like in their games, what they don't like in their games. And I do agree there's a lot of folks out there that are like really wishy-washy with what they want and or confused about what they want, and then they kind of say they want one thing and then they get it and then they complain anyways. There's certain people out there you're just never going to be able to please.
but I think
Fully
I think
acknowledged.
those people are the most vocal, and I think that's the problem. Is like because like I've seen it on the 2K subreddits and stuff like that. It's like, oh, this thing happens this way. This badge works this way. Okay, well let's do something to address that. And then like the thing that I've heard the most the last year of 2K is like I'm sick of all these guards and small forwards just running into the paint and just dunking on people like slashers they're irritating, just dunking on people. Well, what did they do? They changed that mechanic this year, so it's less likely to get dunked on. It's more skill based, and people are mad about that too. Now, I don't think that they went about it the right way necessarily, and I wasn't one of those people who was complaining about the way slashes worked in the first place. But it's like I don't know. They change certain things, and a lot of people get mad about it. But I also do agree that I don't think they changed it the right way either. So I don't know. But I will say one other thing before you continue. You made the comment about the competition thing. What's changed? Nothing's changed about like we've been saying this for the last 10 years because the competition shit hasn't changed. Madden's been the only game in town. 2K's been the only game in town. That competition piece has not changed at all. So I like again, I don't think it's like when I say that, I don't think it's an excuse. I think it's this shit is annoying. This
Yeah.
sucks. We shouldn't continue to have it
Mhm.
be this way. I don't it's not a reason why Madden needs to continue to pump out the same shit every year. It's just I don't know, it's a result of it. I don't know. I don't know how to better explain it, but I
Yeah.
agree with you. I understand what you're saying, but the reason why people keep saying it is because nothing has changed at all.
I guess it kind of reminds me of like how we kind of talk about Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
We always give Nintendo shit for like just never wanting to do anything different, but technically they don't have to because the money. If you look at the revenue,
Mhm.
why would they? You know what I'm saying? Like they're gonna get their bread. But then I guess at some point I always kind of look at them like I guess like Microsoft in a sense. Microsoft seems like the only one at all these places that like when people say they want something or whatever, it I don't know, it feels like they're listening. Like am I tripping
But
on
it's
that?
because they're in third place. Let's be real.
Damn, I think that's a whole nother conversation.
But let's be real. It's because they're in third place. Like I love my
Oh,
Xbox and I
man.
prefer my Xbox. But the reason why they have the underdog mentality. And I honestly think even if they become in first place, they will forever have the underdog mentality as long as Phil
That's
Spencer.
kind of how I feel too.
But it's
Yeah.
only because they hit rock bottom. None of these other companies have hit rock bottom. So they don't know what that feels like. They don't have leaders in charge that are like, yo, we lost everything. We can never act this way again. That like none of the like Sony had that period in time with the PlayStation 3 where they were losing to Xbox for a little bit. But eventually they pulled their shit together. They didn't hit rock bottom. People were still out here buying them. Nobody was like, "Oh, is Sony going to close down the PlayStation branch?" That never happened. Nintendo, I mean, they
I'll
had
give you that one for
they
sure.
had their issues, but like Nintendo's always been beloved. Like the Xbox team, they it's basically the way they came into the game was an underdog. They had their level of success with the 360, and then the Xbox One brought them right back down to that like rock bottom standpoint. So at this point, Phil Spencer, who's somebody who's been there from day one, he saw how they came up. He then saw how they navigated their way to the top, and then saw them fall from grace again. And now he's the head of the company. Like he's gonna, as long as he's in charge, they will always have an underdog mentality. It's that simple. And Microsoft as a whole, even though it's weird to say that they're like underdogs per se, but they have an underdog mindset because they're not beloved in the same way as Apple and like some of these other companies. Even though they pump out
Yeah.
way more shit than all those companies and their revenues are very high, like there's like a mind share issue when we talk about Microsoft sometimes. Like they make great shit, but people don't think of them as the company that you love their stuff because it's shit that you have to use for work, like Office and so on and so forth. So that mindset, that underdog mindset is why they make like they're fighting right now still to be number one and make amazing shit and buy all these companies and do this and do that and Game Pass and so on and so forth. So if you apply that same concept to the sports companies and shit like that, there are no sports companies out there right now who are making games that have hit that rock bottom. And I don't know, it's just tough. And not,
Live, I guess.
I was gonna say NBA Live,
but they're not in the game. We're not even talking about them, right? Like they're not even a factor. I think is really what it boils down to. They're not a factor. So therefore we don't think about them. But I would love to see like that team who made Street and all that shit. I would love for them to make something like specifically street ball related, make an arcade basketball game and then get the NBA licensing later on or whatever it is that they have to do. Like I would love to see that. But Chris, sorry,
Yeah, that would be fire.
you can finish up your the rest of the stuff you were saying.
Yeah, no, it wasn't really much else besides that. It was just that at some point for me, it gets to the point where it's like, damn, man, I get that there's no competition, but when you have all this information, at some point it just has to look like you're just ignoring it. You know, you're just like, you're hearing certain people, but then you're just saying whatever. That's why I brought up Microsoft, because it never feels like they do that. Out of all these companies, all these development teams, whatever, they feel as though they are listening in some capacity. Like I feel like if something crazy happens, Phil Spencer's gonna do I don't even a tweet. He's gonna do what do you call those things where he just kind of like do a public service announcement at a podium somewhere. He's gonna do something.
Yeah,
He's gonna say
yeah,
something.
he'll say, yeah, absolutely, he'll say
You
something.
know, and he's always seems like he has an ear down to everybody else, and it feels as though Microsoft especially is willing to kind of like take a back seat in terms of their personal wants and needs or whatever to please everybody else. And it's just like, damn, if more folks had that mentality, I think so much more of this stuff would be better. But I don't know. It's hard for me to not say that like these dudes are just like sitting on their laurels, because I think that's definitely what it is.
Well,
because they could have done this shit a minute ago if they wanted to.
Well, I think it's
could've.
also a matter of do you. So I think another thing that comes into play when you talk about Microsoft versus other companies is Microsoft. Like I said, like they're a powerhouse company. They're still making a ton of money. Their main source of revenue is not Xbox, not even by a mile. So when you compare it to other companies that, you know, it can appear as if they're resting on their laurels or whatever it is, they're making a shit ton of money off of this same product that you and I are saying needs to get better. Why would they take a big enough risk? like the only thing that they have is this product. If they take a risk and they miss and it loses them a ton of money, they don't have anything to fall back on. It's not like Microsoft where Microsoft can take a risk with Game Pass, and if it doesn't work out, they have the billions and billions of dollars that are coming in through Windows and Office and all that shit. So risk, I think even if you look at the other two companies, Sony and Nintendo, risk look very different for those companies. They don't take many risks. They tend to go more with the surefire thing because in essence that like they are well, Sony obviously they make other things, but PlayStation is the biggest thing that's happening at Sony right now, right? Like their TV division have been down. I think they've like broken off a couple of the divisions or whatever. So like their breadwinner is PlayStation right now, and then Nintendo, obviously all Nintendo is a games company. So when you talk about them doing things that are different from what they're making money on, and I agree with you at the end of the day, like I want them to take more risk, but I also understand the business side of it is if you know Susie and John and Timmy are buying all of this shit, like we're just gonna keep
fuck them
making
kids,
all
man.
this shit, you know, like we're just gonna keep making it. And Microsoft is on the other side of it, like, well, we want to get more people in, but we don't want to rock the boat. But it's like, oh wait, no, we're Microsoft. Satya Nadella just gave me a blank check to go buy Activision for a ridiculous amount of money. We're just gonna go take risks because we have money in our pocket already. We don't have to worry about it as much as these other companies do. So I think that also plays a factor. That's not like a great answer for people like you and I, at the end of the day, where it's like, well, we want this thing and we're not going to get it. And that's also why you're not going to see many other companies making, like, you're not going to see some startup with one person making a basketball game, like it's hard to do that because you need more resources. They're also not going to get the licensing from the NBA because you have to like pay for that stuff at some level. And a smaller person's not going to be able to do that. Same thing with the NFL and all that other shit. Like, so I feel like it's tough because people aren't going to take risk with this type of thing if it's making them money doing it the way they've been doing it. And it's shitty, but yeah.
Yeah. This whole thing was brought on to me by the latest WWE game. I saw that shit and I'm sitting there like, bruh, I was so hyped for this, and the way y'all did this shit, I'm so disappointed in you guys.
Yeah, I was disappointed too, man.
Like, oh man, that kind of brought on this whole idea of like, what's going on with these games, man? Like, is these shits going anywhere?
Well,
like, do y'all care?
Wrestling games is a different story. I don't even view wrestling games as sports games, but I understand why they would be considered sports games. In my eyes, they're just another form of a fighting game. They need to be better too.
Even within that, like, come on. Come on, bro.
I agree. I 1,000% agree.
All right, but yeah, that was the icebreaker. I thought it was going to be a good discussion.
The icebreaker. I thought that was the episode.
Shit, it feels like the episode. It feels like the episode. I mean, to be quite honest with you, like I said, we don't have that much to talk about. So I mean, we're talking about this. That to pivot to the other side of what we really were going to talk about this week is just the state of gaming this year, 2022 in particular. Just recapping what we've had in the year so far. The biggest thing we've seen is Elden Ring, of course, right? We got Horizon Forbidden West as well, a very great game, a game of the year candidate. In any other year other than the year where Elden Ring, I mean, there's still a candidate, but likely would have been a winner in any other year other than where Elden Ring was released. So I just want to go around real quick. How do you guys feel about 2022 so far? We'll get into the second half of it, but we're at the midway point of the year. How do you guys feel about the year so far? Favorite games, things that you like to have seen, disappointments, so on and so forth. So, Manny, I'm gonna start with you on this one.
Yeah. Beginning of the year, I would say like February, the best month of gaming in a long time. Banger after banger. Now, just because they all released at the same time doesn't mean it's a good thing. Just because like the spacing and the pacing of like playing those games, it's kind of hard to play games like, for example, Dying Light, and then not even a week later, Sifu comes out like 3 days later, and then you're playing Sifu. Then you got Horizon Forbidden West come out like 2 weeks later, and then not even a week later, you got Elden Ring. So it's like, the pacing of that month was it was like great as in the terms of like, the products we got, but it was like also bad for like some companies, like for example Horizon, because like Horizon was a great game story wise, but it's just like it has some bugs. I do agree with it that like kind of like ruins some aspects of the games visually. But they could have pushed it back a couple months, fix those things and not get overshadowed by Elden Ring, which was like a huge hit for a couple months. So like, I think because of that, like that kind of like deteriorated the value of Horizon. But like I mean, we got bangers though. Like Seafood was a great game. I couldn't even play Dying Light because like they just came out in the wrong time, in my opinion. Even though they came out first, I just felt like it just wasn't at the right time.
I 100% agree with you on that one. I mean, I also think Dying Light quality wise was a lower tier
It
game.
was yeah,
It should have been released
it was a
now.
little disappointing.
Should have been the release right now. Would have given him a little bit extra time
Yeah.
to polish it up a little bit. And there's absolutely nothing. I mean, let me rephrase that. There's nothing AAA new to play right now. But we've been
Mhm.
lucky these past couple weeks. We got Naraka, we got Fall Guys. Like we've gotten some things on like other platforms and certain things that have been kind of revitalized. Like Fortnite's been revitalized for us. We've been playing that a lot because of some of the new things that they've added in. So like there's stuff for us to play. But when you look at the beginning half of the year, all that shit, it's like you could have.
Yeah, right now we're in like a desert. We're thirsty. We're looking for some water. There's no water to drink because, we used all the water at the beginning of the year,
Yeah,
but we thirsty.
it's rough.
That's another reason why I kind of like wish they spread out all those games. Like as soon as like April hit, we were just like, damn, we have nothing to play because we're done with Elden Ring. I mean, well, we tried WWE. That game was a flop. Gran Turismo was like, it's good, but it's bad because like they're trying to do their own live service thing itself, and like the way they're doing it, it's basically like, give me $100 if you want to buy this nice car, pretty much, because like their currency to real life currency ratio is terrible. Like that game could do some work, but um, like yeah, as soon as I think once it hit like mid March to like I would say June right now, like there's really nothing there to play, and that's why we're stuck playing Fortnite because there's nothing else to play. Fortnite's actually been putting out really good content. So
So yeah, that's the thing is like these live service games are really getting a chance to shine now because there's really not that much else to play. Fortnite's pumping out good content. Like Rocket League. Obviously, Fall Guys kind of had like a soft relaunch because they're now coming to they're now on what Switch and Xbox. And they're already on
mhm.
PC and PlayStation. So, we're getting like content from these live service games, but as far as like brand new AAA stuff, it's just not happening right now. And I don't know. It's like it's a little frustrating, but at the same time, it's not like we haven't seen that before. I think the biggest issue is that it just feels like the reason why it feels more frustrating right now is that we don't know what else is coming in the fall. Like it doesn't look like we're really getting the bigger stuff in the fall. But we'll get into a little bit more of that later. But Chris, I wanted to get your thoughts on the year so far, and then we can start talking about the next
Um,
6 months.
so far, yeah, it's been pretty mid. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, we've had some good stuff that come out. We've had some bangers actually that have come out recently, but I got to keep it a stack. Like I'm still very much in the boat of it still feels like we're in the 1.5 generation and not necessarily the 2.0 generation yet, if that makes any sense. And like, so when these consoles came out, I was expecting like a leap, like a big leap, and it still feels like we're inching towards it, but we haven't gotten that big time. Okay, this game is no way, shape, or form, without a shadow of a doubt, next gen esque. This is what we think the next level of gaming is going to be. I have two games I think that can bring that out, but I will wait till we get to the next part in the discussion. But
Mhm.
so far,
Yeah, man, we can
good
start.
stuff.
We can start talking about it now. Hey, let's
So
get into
I'll
it.
like to bring one more point. The one more point.
Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
I was gonna say while Chris, gathers his thought. What is it called? I will say at first I was upset about the PlayStation Plus whole thing. The premium is still a shitty tier. Don't buy it now because there's nothing there. But the extra tier is actually pretty solid because there's still some solid like PS4 titles and some PS5 titles that I haven't touched, like Death Stranding, which I really enjoyed and beat with put like 50 hours into that game. And I actually dove into the Mafia trilogy. I beat 1 and 2 already. I'm on the third one, and there are games that I were thinking about buying before, but they thankfully were on the subscription. I would say this: the extra tier is pretty solid for what they have. Like they actually have some pretty solid games. I just wouldn't spend the extra $2 on the premium because, like I said, there's no PS1 or PS2 or PS3 titles. I'm still upset they took out games like Sly Cooper and Metal Gear, but I'll say yeah, shout out to that.
Until they start putting
Yeah.
like new games in that service, though, for me personally, I can't justify it because almost all the games that they have in there I've already played. So I can understand for like somebody, or even like in your situation, you didn't play Death Stranding, you didn't play, Mafia, so on and so forth. I played those games. Like I didn't beat Death Stranding, but I didn't feel the need to do so. Mafia, I played a couple of those and beat them. So when I look at like the bigger reason why I keep coming back to Game Pass is like newer games and brand new games launch in the service, and it's like, yo, this makes it worth it to have that, right? And I'm not even getting into the first party game stuff because obviously that's a different type of conversation. But like Microsoft has actually done the work, done the legwork to get brand new third party games in the service, and I think that's like huge. And I'm not seeing enough of that in this new PlayStation Plus thing yet. But I have to imagine that it's coming, even though if it's not first party stuff. It seems like it is something that they're working on, and it seems like they've kind of alluded to that. So that's for me when I'm going to dive in. But for now, it's like, damn, like okay, yeah, I could go play Miles Morales and Spider Man. So like, I already own those games, like
Yeah.
the top tier PlayStation content. Y'all set me up in such a way that I had to go buy it anyways. So like now you putting it in the service, I'm not getting any value out of it. But I also understand that they may not be positioning it for someone like me. They're positioning it for casual gamer who didn't necessarily buy every single game that came out. So I mean, I've been
Yeah.
hearing pretty much the same sentiment that you just outlined, though. Like basically that that tier, the extra tier is good, better than people expected it to be. But I'm looking for more. I'm waiting for more.
Yeah.
But Chris, so yeah, like we were talking about, what are you looking at as far as the next 6 months go? I personally I feel like it's looking a little dry, but I'll let you take it away.
Yeah. The next 6 months. So we're talking about it's July now. We're talking about what, January? Between now and then. I'm putting a lot of weight on Pokemon shoulders. A lot of weight on Pokemon shoulders to like live up to my expectations. Um, I'm joking when I say that. That's more like a personal passion game or whatever. But the only like game that I think really that can save the whole 1.5 discussion for me is right now probably Hellblade. I would say because to me, and I don't know if it's gonna get pushed back. I'm still kind of thinking it probably will get some pushed back at some point, but
Ain't no release date yet, so
ain't no release date. And like I don't care what nobody says, it's one of the most unique games that is out currently, regardless of platform, regardless of whatever. One of the most unique experiences you can have in a video game to date. So I can only imagine this next one is like going to be like the first one, but like them trying even more new things, them pushing even further with the whole voices and the headset and all that stuff and the spatial awareness and all that stuff. I think they're going to go balls to the walls with it. Could I be wrong? Sure. But I doubt it. Like, I really think they're going to go for it with this. So when I think about what's going to feel new, what's going to feel like something that I've never done before, Hellblade. I got to give it to that. I don't know if anything else so far that I've seen. I think Returnal's had the potential for it to be like something very different. I think even Ratchet Clank, the one that just came out for PS5, I haven't played it myself yet, but I thought, again, on paper, it had a lot of potential to kind of like push forward what we know as like platform gaming. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of potential candidates that have come out, but they didn't really knock it out like I'm thinking. But I think Hellblade, yeah, I think there's not going to be another game that comes out on the market for a while like Hellblade before it comes out and after, because it's just different. It's just different. Like that's the only way I could, like, what else am I supposed to say about it?
So you're talking more about like experience, right? Like the gaming. I mean, obviously we know the graphics are amazing, but like it sounds like you're really leaning more into like the experience.
Yeah, because it's like these consoles were supposed to be able to bring us things that we weren't able to get with the last ones. So I'm kind of still waiting for them to like really truly utilize what's in these things and translating it into game form. Right now, what it feels like we're getting is good games, yes, but has anybody truly just pushed it all the way? I don't think we've gotten that yet. And I hate to say it like this because we bring this game up every so often, or at least I do. Now that I think about it, I kind of wish Anthem never came out when it did because I feel like it was so ahead of its time. If they had some of this other stuff and they took their time with it, that would have felt next gen to me. That would have felt different and new, because they tried some crazy shit and it just, I don't know. It didn't go out how it was supposed to, but at least that was a new concept. You know what I mean? A new idea, a new fight mechanic that I hadn't experienced in a game before. That's more what I'm waiting for. New things, new ideas.
Well, I feel like, I don't know, like, I feel like the moniker of like next gen relative to these types of conversations, I feel like they get thrown around a lot, but I don't know. Like, okay, so when I look at Hellblade, right? This next one that's coming out, I'm expecting like higher fidelity graphics and more of the same from the last generation. And that I'm okay with that, right? Like because that game just tells a specific type of story. I'm just trying to think of like certain other experiences, but like I think the thing for me is I just want, and obviously you do too, right? Or we all do. Like we just want great games. When we talk about like pushing the envelope forward and things that were being done on this generation of consoles that couldn't be done on last generation of consoles, I don't think that's ever really going to exist. Maybe more the way it's being done. Like there are plenty of games that have come out now that are for next gen only that couldn't be done the way they were done last generation. I think the problem with this also is that like PC is always going to be that thing that bridges the gap between the generations, and you're really not going to get too much of a dramatic difference between PC games. Like PC games have to they have to support legacy hardware too, like systems that have existed for such a long time. But when you like dive into certain games, as far as like Horizon, let's take Horizon as an example, right? Like using the SSD in the system, using the extra graphical power in the system, like it makes for a much better experience than you would have been able to get on PlayStation 4. But there's still a PlayStation 4 version of that game, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. It's like it's tricky because I think when you look at systems like Starfield and shit like that, right? That's the game that we were all really expecting to see this year. Do I think Starfield is going to push gaming forward? I'm not entirely sure on that, but there are systems in Starfield that I'm like, okay, they're definitely,
I was gonna say that.
yeah, they're definitely leveraging like next gen shit. Like being able to jump to a planet like damn near seamlessly, whatever. That you have to have an SSD for that. You can't use a traditional hard drive for that shit. You're gonna be sitting there for hours in a day. It's just not gonna happen. Even some of the graphical stuff around that game, like they're using ray tracing, they're doing this, they're doing that. Like that stuff's there, but I agree with you. I don't feel like we're pushing it forward. Like I don't know if that 2.0 step is possible anymore. You know what I mean? The rate that innovation happens, and like you'll see it in the PC space, and then it'll translate to the console space, and the way that those two things keep jumping back and forth, like PC game development and console development are as close as they've ever been. So I feel like we're at a place now where you're not going to see like that new generation come out and it's like, oh my God, this is going from like 8-bit to 16-bit or 32-bit, or like all the shit that we used to experience back in the day. I don't think those jumps can exist anymore because of the place we're at in gaming. So when I look at like what I want to be like a next gen, I'm thinking more from an experience standpoint of somebody making like a game that I've never seen before, purely from an idea standpoint. And I think that you're seeing more of that stuff, but it's in the indie space and people aren't giving that respect. So it's like, I mean, this is like a silly example, but like you look at Fall Guys, right? We never really had an experience like what Fall Guys gives us. It's basically Mario Party, and you take in like the battle royale elements of it or whatever. And, that's basically what Fall Guys is. But we've never really seen it play out this way before. So it feels like something new and fresh and so on and so forth. I don't know. I feel like that's more the type of stuff that we're going to get. Like Sifu. Sifu's like that's a smaller game, like Sony gave it some a higher production value as far as like promotional stuff and whatnot, but we haven't really seen a game like Sifu before. That's different, but it's not considered AAA, you know. And I don't think we're gonna get. And it's crazy because it's gonna go back into that conversation I was having about Risk, right? Like we're not gonna get as many of these high end, crazy like AAA games from bigger studios because people don't want to take the fucking risk, and it sucks. It sucks, man.
Yeah.
Goes back to the sports conversation we had earlier.
It does. I didn't even try to do that, but it's I don't know. I guess that's just where my mindset's at right now.
That's good. That works for the episode, man. That's good shit.
but I do agree though.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to see it now, especially since we're still early, even though we're like almost 2 years in, which is crazy to think. And the problem is they're just not trying to leave that, man behind the last generation consoles, the One X, PS4 Pros. They're still making games for them. So, for now, we're still not going to really like see it as much if they're still going to try to, make ports for those consoles to bring everybody, have everybody able to play those games. So like it might be harder in that aspect, or they're limiting themselves. And I feel like, we can blame COVID because, a lot of production was on hold because everybody's getting sick. So, a lot of games were pushed back because of that. So I'm sure we're probably going to see, a lot of these next gen games we're hoping to see later in the console lifespan, which is sad, sad to say because this console just came out. So like we're hoping for that right now, but like we're definitely going to have to, wait like at least 2, 3, 4, years until we, in my opinion, can say we truly get that kind of thing. But
that's rough.
I don't even think that's like.
Oof.
I don't know. I don't agree with that fully though, because I like feel very passionately about this, but
yeah, I know what you mean.
I don't know. We're getting these great experiences. Like we're getting all these random like indie games that are creating things that are different, like as Dusk Falls and like shit like that. But there is this lack of respect around them, and I'm not saying from you guys or anything like that, but like the general like hype around them is just different because they're smaller indie games, But like they're doing things that are different that we haven't really seen before, and they just don't get the praise because. I don't know, because they're not flashy and they're not like, they don't have a $1 billion budget or whatever, but they're fucking cool. They're doing weird and different shit. Like, I don't know. Naraka, another one. Like, we've seen Battle Royale games before, but like we haven't seen it in this like martial arts style and all that stuff. Like that game is fucking amazing. It's beautiful. It's fun. Like it's not like traditionally next gen. But I think where we are from like a technology standpoint, you couldn't do that 5 years ago. You couldn't have servers handle like 60 people in a lobby, all running around grabbing different weapons and like actually doing complicated fighting mechanics. Like that's unheard of 5 years ago, right? So like that's the type of stuff I'm talking about. Like those newer mechanics and doing things different. Deathloop is a very different and innovative concept, right? People don't really give it as much respect to say like, oh, this is next gen, but like that shit is very different. The way it's all situated, the story is amazing. Like the way everything just loops back, like literally loops back, in time when you die. I feel like when we're talking about it from an experience standpoint, that's where I'm looking for the next gen stuff. And I think we're here already. It's just that we're not going to get it the way we've been getting it in the past. Like, the jump from 360 to Xbox One or the jump from Xbox to Xbox 360, like those type of technological jumps, I just don't think are happening yet until we get like this something new has to be invented, like everybody was like, oh, ray tracing is the thing. Ray tracing. And I think ray tracing is definitely a big deal as far as graphical fidelity goes. But like, we don't have that bigger generalized new innovation that would change gaming or like, I don't know. None of that exists yet. So right now it has to be game design and creating a new concept. And until we get the other stuff, like the new innovations in computing or whatever that shit will turn out to be, like I think we are going to be stuck in like what feels like a 1.5 because it'll be like transitional, but I don't think we're going to get gaming experiences that technically change too much I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I hope there's some crazy shit that someone comes out with, but I don't know. I don't see it yet. I just
So
want unique experiences.
I just have one last point. Do you guys think that the way how shit like UE5 and all that stuff is working, where it seems like they have mechanics in place now where you could damn near put a code into a system and then have it just kind of world build for you and whatnot? I would think that the fact that you have these kind of things going forward, it frees up a lot of resource time for you to be able to come up with new shit or
Yes.
things like that, right? Am I off?
1,000% right. So that was the kind of the last thing I was gonna say was I think because you're not having so much of this bigger change and whatnot, and you have engines like Unreal that basically are making all of this stuff more ubiquitous. They're making it so that literally anybody can go in and just write code to this engine and make like whatever amazing gaming experience it is that they wanted to make. Like for what's that game? It got announced like right around the time that Microsoft was showing off stuff for the Series X, and they were like, it's made by it's one guy. Like it's like this crazy looking.
Oh, Bright
Bright
Memory.
Memory.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bright Memory Infinite, right? Because I think Bright Memory was his first one. So Infinite is supposed to be this crazy one, da 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 da, like looks different, looks beautiful, blah 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 blah. I don't remember what engine he was using, but let's just assume it's Unreal, right? Like if another developer gets an opportunity to use something like that, use Unreal Engine 5 and have it look absolutely beautiful, and they don't have to worry about, you know, I don't know, like scanning in items or and all this different type of shit in the game. Like they have this whole full library of shit that they can just pull from that's already pre-rendered, pre-made, yada yada yada, and they could just work on, pumping out this game and not having to worry about the extra shit that you would need another team for. Like I think again, it goes back into the shit about risk and whatnot. People like the average user is the person who's going to take more risks, like the newbie, the new person coming into gaming, right? So having tools like this will allow us to have better experiences because people will basically not have to spend as much money, up front to like build themselves a game. They don't necessarily need a full team or whatever. So they can navigate in such a way to take more risk and make something different, make something that we've never seen before. And that's exactly why you're seeing that happen now with all these indie games. Indie games are killing it as far as like just random weird different shit. Like Hades was an indie game, right? That was like a game of the year contender last year or whatever. Like we're seeing more of that stuff because tools are getting easier for people to use, and also you're not seeing as many of the bigger studios taking those types of risk and making games like that. So the smaller studios, I wish I remember the guy's name, but we'll just say like the Joe Schmoes of the world, like they'd be willing to actually go out and make games like that.
Word. One can hope. That guy who's doing that Vroom game, he's also doing that by himself too,
Right.
On UE5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, it's like kind of another example of it. I don't know, I think that's the only place we're gonna get all that shit is just like in the smaller game space. But again, people don't respect it. So like there's so many, like again, Game Pass. There's so many fucking games in Game Pass that just are amazing like that. Those smaller indie game things. And I don't know.
Yeah.
What was that dude's thing? The one that like posted, "Oh, Xbox got no AAA titles," and the Xbox clapped back saying, "Oh, I guess you don't play indie games."
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Facts.
Yeah, this is like the time period we have right now is where like Game Pass strives because like they do promote a lot of good indie games that nobody really would pay attention to, and all you have to do is just load it up to Cloud Play if you have a good connection, or just download it.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. So I mean, I think maybe as an industry we need to be paying a little bit more attention to the indie space and helping both of those guys up so that they can make more AAA experiences down the road. Like actually support them and whatnot. So again, that's kind of the good thing about things like Game Pass. Can't miss an opportunity to talk about Game Pass in an episode, right, guys?
Goddamn right.
But yeah, I mean, outside of that, the rest of the year is just I don't know. The only thing I'm looking forward to in the rest of the year is Call of Duty and the Callisto Protocol. And y'all know how I am about Call of Duty, right? Like I'm like It's like a love-hate relationship for me. But I'm looking forward to Warzone 2. I'm hoping there's something different
It's
there.
Modern Warfare though, bro.
I know,
It's Modern Warfare.
but you know what though? For me, like those experiences die off very quickly. You know, like but I'm just hoping with this Warzone 2 thing they don't fuck it up. That's all I care about. And then obviously Callisto Protocol. That's right up my alley. You know, fucking horror
Can't
games
forget
and
God of War
whatnot.
though.
You know what? We'll have that conversation when they actually sit there and tell me that God of War is coming out November 10th or you know that the supposed rumored date or whatever. Whenever that actually happens, then we can have a conversation. But as of right now, I feel like
That's fair.
Sony's just fucking playing games
Or
with us.
Forspoken. I'm interested to see how that one is.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, there needs to be more conversations around these games because I don't know for sure if these games are actually coming out in the timeframes that are rumored. So until that happens, as far as I'm concerned, the rest of this year is looking bleak. But I'll leave it at that, boys. You guys want to say anything else before we head out? Because I know we've been going for an hour now, even though we thought we weren't gonna have
All
anything
I'm
to
gonna
talk
say-
about.
Hey, Pokemon not getting pushed back. That's all I know. That's all I know.
Yeah,
That's all I'm
Nintendo don't
saying.
do that. They typically
They're not pushing that back. That's all I'm saying.
They're
What do you mean
punctual.
they don't do that? Have you not seen Breath of the Wild 2?
That's the only thing.
Hold on, time out.
And
Breath
Metroid
of the
Prime?
Wild 2 never had a firm release date. They don't come out and say
They did-
release
they-
dates.
But they did say it was going to come out this year, and then they pushed it back to
They
next
didn't give it
year.
a firm release date. That's all I'm saying to you. Nintendo doesn't say a game is going to come out in a specific day and then usually push it. That's very rare. Very rare that it happens. They'll give you a general time frame and then push it back because a lot of people do that. But if they're like, yo, November 16th, Friday, November 16th, or whatever the heck that day is, like they say the game's coming out that day, you best believe it's probably going to come out that day. So I trust Nintendo with that. That's probably the only thing I trust Nintendo with. Yeah, so it is what it is. But like I said, I think this is a good place to leave it. I don't trust Nintendo with nothing else. But when they tell me a date, I know they go.
That.
I know they'll tell. I know they stick to that date. So it is what it is. But
That's funny as hell.
guys, make sure to check out our regular social media stuff. Basically, if you're listening to us on podcast services, also check us out on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, check us out on podcast services. All of you other guys, make sure to check us out on Twitter at Expansion Pack Pod. Or sorry, at XPack Pod. That's Twitter and Instagram at XPack Pod. And then on TikTok is Expansion Pack Podcast. Make sure to come talk to us. Shoot us some ideas for icebreakers because we be running thin on sometimes. Chris pulled out a good one this week though, so shout out to him for that. But yeah, guys, we'll head out. We'll check you guys out next week, and thank you guys for watching and listening. Peace.
Oh, yeah.